To really see the power of LiquiMap, you have to see a demo. So let me go into a demo right now. LiquiMap is both an API and a web interface. This screen allows you to select formulas which create different LiquiMaps based on the formula you select. You can also add your own formulas in a very spreadsheet-like language very easily. Okay, let me pick a few formulas so we can see some LiquiMaps. Here's how you can pick various formulas. You can see I have a bunch that I won't show you, but here's min-max, which we talked about. Whether a cell's increasing or decreasing, standard deviations, average, below average, log-based functions, statistical functions like chi-squared, quite a few other ones, and certainly you can add them easily. But I'll pick a few that'll be good for this zoo data set. Here's one. And now for each row we add, we create a new LiquiMap. We're going to do min-max, and we're going to apply that to the row, and then we're going to do another min-max and apply it to the column. That should be enough to give us an idea of what LiquiMap is capable of. Now we're going to go and select the data. I'll type in zoo to bring back only the zoo data sets. And I have a bunch of different zoo-related data sets, but I'm going to only focus on one right now, the one we've already looked at, zoo web hits total. So when I click create, it will run a database query. The database has about 500,000 rows in it and bring back the visualization. Now, it did it that fast, and that included the database query. To create the visualization itself is a fraction of a second. You can see as you move the mouse, it indicates the year, the time, and the day. And as we pause, the numbers appear. So you can see we're hovering 8 p.m. This is on June 9th, and the cell that we're hovering is 249,943. Now we can make this visualization much smaller and still hover. You can still see the basic patterns. This is a phenomenal amount of data that we're looking at right now. It's shocking how small you can shrink these down and still see the patterns within them. Now you can also make it bigger and study patterns in more detail. So for example, this one is an interesting one where we have on at 5 p.m. on June 9th, it had quite a bit more hits than it normally does. You can see the day before was 150,000 hits, and today we have 250,000 hits within this hour. Here, where it's green and it's normally not. Here, where it's red and it's normally not. And that's the basic idea. You just zoom in and out and look at it different scales. And here you can see a couple of the other formulas. Here's the row min-max, where we can see that during this time frame here we had busier times. And here we take the same algorithm we apply to columns, which shows a totally different aspect of the data I'm not going to get into now, but you can see there's very many ways of looking at the data, slicing and dicing it, and finding extremely interesting patterns that would warrant further investigation. Now I'd like to show you another powerful capability of LiquiMap called animations. I'd like to look at a different data set. This one is data collected from the London Cycle Hire program, where they rent bicycles to the public. The format of the data is the same as in the zoo example for web hits, where we have the columns being the days of the month from August until October, and the hours of the day in this case don't go for 24 hours but from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The LiquiMap algorithm used is the below average algorithm. In this case, the red cells represent hours where there are more than the average amount of trips, and green cells indicate less than the average amount of trips. So you can see in the morning on weekdays there are higher than average amount of trips. So let's animate this and see what else we can see in the data. To animate, I'm going to select the graphic and select animate. We're going to ignore this particular visualization right here for now. Animation works by playing your data like a movie. This red value is the highest value in the data set. As we move the slider to the left, we'll start to grow the amount of data that we can see, and the next cells that appear will be the next biggest values. So as you can see here, we're moving, and now we've picked up a few bigger cells. Let's keep moving and see if we can find anything about the data. You can see all of the times that have popped up so far at the same time of day, and I can tell you that's 8 a.m. here, and then this is 5 p.m. here. So we've learned that the bicyclists are usually commuting. We still haven't picked up any other values yet. Now we've picked up one at 6 p.m. and you can see we have a number in the 6 p.m. time frame, and we picked up one in the 7 a.m. time frame. As we keep moving this, we'll start to see more and more data fill in. And let's move this back. And you can see you can move this as fast as you want. It's doing this in real time in a browser. What's really neat about this is you could do this for hundreds of data sets at the same time and see how they change together. Let me make this smaller so you get a sense of how much we could really fit on this screen. And you can see even this size, even smaller, you can get a sense of the data and you can start to compare other data sets and how they change together. That would be extremely powerful in many industries, certainly in IT operations. You could do this for all of your servers, for example, or even retail. A place such as Starbucks or McDonald's could do visualizations of sales by hour for all of their stores. LiquiMap allows you to get insights that would just be impossible with other software. In a short demo like this, I don't have time to show you all the great features of LiquiMap, but let me show you one more that just emphasizes how fast it really is. I'm going to create a LiquiMap with 1 million data points, and to get this LiquiMap I have to query a database. The database generates the data set by multiplying the row times the column. It's going to do all that in this short amount of time. Now we can make the LiquiMap smaller so we can see it better. So that's 1 million data points. I can scale up and down. I can do this with 1 million data points. I can do it with a lot more too. And notice I can still use the mouse over and look at the numbers. Now let me show you a couple other things. I want to show you how fast LiquiMap can do various calculations on even 1 million data points. Here it's going to, on the fly, create a visualization on 1 million data points and bring it back to the browser. And it's already back. But now I can do further analysis on this visualization. By clicking on, for example, the color green, I can further partition that into 2 colors, above average for the green section and below average. And every time I click on this, it's doing all these calculations, calculating an average, and changing this visualization on the fly. Now, in less than a second, I'm going to return 10 visualizations on this 1 million point data set. There, it's back already. Wow. And I can still interact with these visualizations by clicking on them and calculating the averages on the fly, or any other algorithms I might want to do on the fly. Although my example showed how LiquiMap did a great job of showing web data by the hour, LiquiMap is much more flexible than that. Patterns are patterns. LiquiMap can display any kind of tabular data. For example, time series, sensor data. It's great for telecom data or environmental data such as pollution, weather, earthquakes. Energy utility data, medical and healthcare, IT operations, business data, government data, you name it. Let me give you some examples. Here are some examples I won't talk about in any detail. However, notice the diversity of the problems LiquiMap can help solve. Java source code analysis, color coding each keyword a different color, allows you to see the structure of your code. This is the US stock market data since 1950 for every day. Here is climate change data where each row is a different year since 1856 and each column is a month. If you notice, this looks similar to a database table too, in the sense that it has many rows and a few columns. LiquiMap could also visualize raw database tables. For example, let's assume this is a database table. Each column could be independently colored, and when the screen runs out of rows, the table could wrap back up to the top and so fit many, many rows on one screen. You could use this approach to page through an entire table no matter how large. LiquiMap could also be used to display test scores or survey data. This example is from the book Freakonomics. This visualization is 2 classrooms' test scores, Classroom A and Classroom B. Each row is a different student, and each column is a different question on the test. Each pixel is colored green if the student answered the question correctly. This classroom has an unusual pattern right here. As it turns out, the teacher was cheating. Teachers were either given bonuses or fired based on their students' performance. And in this case, LiquiMap discovered a person's travels in a building. It discovered both the path of the employee as well as the floor plan. This isn't the kind of thing your typical graphic could do. Thanks very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to hear from you soon. Steve. Bye.